but I want to keep the object on my master view here, then I need to select create new model view. If I leave this unchecked and I hit OK, I get the view, but it's now basically the only model view. If I go back now to my sheet, my panel has disappeared, okay? So you want to create that new model view this way, create 2D view. And when I say create new model view, I'm essentially saying I want to create a copy that's out in on a separate space so that I can work on it. I have this separate view. I can do the same thing for my doors as well. Turn it off again. This transparent. Create 2D view of the front of the door. Now I have another view. Again, I'm keeping this all as one thing, and it will be showing in this D view. And then as many section views or 2D slot views as I need, I add those in so that I have all the views represented. And then if I want to come in and work on adding, let's see, button. Have this in our panel, and then that's reflected here on our main view. So everything here should ultimately end up as a complete object as it's represented in real life. And then as we need to, we will break out all of our slot views as additional views or additional context. And that can be done just for the purpose of making it easier to work on, right? Like we did with the side view here yesterday. This sidewall assignment, have our mounting plate, gives us an easier place to work on things, but then ultimately should have this set as a complete view. Because if I have cable duct that runs to here and then runs to the back wall, I might find that I want to include the accurate measurement from here to the back, or we'll use those cable duct inlets and outlets in order to jump from a door just straight to the back panel. All right, so some more questions we'll go ahead that we can add is the wire wrap as a additional layer or an additional part for the wire. so it would measure that length. But if we're not using cable ducts and we're just using wire wrap, in the event that you're not using cable duct and using something else instead, there is once you have the wires routed, the wire calculation and the wire routing has to be determined by the cable duct. But if I go to device properties here, go to the model position, I have this hidden panel parts. It's 254. Okay. And so once I have the layout done, I can then hide it. And this would be basically hiding it from the finished report, right? So we can still use the cable ducts for determining wire length calculations for DTM, but then we don't have to show them in our final product. The other piece of that with the wire wrap is a good question, and I guess what I would try to do is say, I was going to add wire wrap, I would add what we would want to do is add some sort of indication that there is an additional wrap that's being used, which I guess in theory, if you were to cover the length of the DIN rail, or the cable duct, that would probably capture the amount of wire wrap being used. But that would be something we could look into. I was thinking how to do it, probably be some sort of additional attribute or property for the cable duct that we could represent that. So maybe look at that. Let's see. The other thing you could do would be to just, if you're for certain parts of your panel, using certain parts of your panel as wire wrap, then maybe what you want to do is just have a kind of cable duct component that you're calling a wire wrap. So in that case, let's say this part is saved in the database. Maybe it's a little bit narrower. Maybe it has a different color, and we call this a wire wrap. So if the part in your database would be whatever the part of the wire wrap is, and then that you can still use it for routing. That would be, in my estimation, probably a creative way to do it. But that's a good question. Maybe I can think about that a little bit more. I'll just say this. Let me think a little more about this one. Here, creator, the templates that we had. Report generator designer is where we can create reports. Excuse me. So in here, you have a list of template reports that you can generate. If you want to create a new one, you can right click on an existing one and make a copy. You make a copy of this report here. We can change the name and say training bomb. And then we can go to the option here, which is the little piece of paper with a pen writing on it, to edit this report. So in here, what you get is a header here, which is just a text box stating that this is the bill of materials. You get a project, and then it's pointing at the project name and the project path. Then we have a header here where it's the name, class, the manufacturer, description, device, function, and then quantity. So this is just a header here. And then when we come down, what we're basically looking for is the appropriate attribute that we want to drop under this header so that we can get our reports out. So in this case, you can see this one is set as component attributes, class folder. So you have a report explorer, which basically outlines the structure of your document. So it's consisting of a single report with a top margin up here, has a report header here with table 4, which is just these options here. Table 4 has the report name. Table 3 has the project name and the path. If we move over to this second window, we can see the field list. The field list is where we get a list of basically coming down from the project level. So if I open up the project field list, I can see devices for the project. I can see project attributes. So let's say we wanted to add in a specific project attribute here, like the project version. And then all I need to do is click and drag it out into my report. Over here. And then when it's lined up, you'll see this purple highlight basically on the row and the column saying that it's lined up. I'll take a copy of this text field here and paste it. If you look at the full path name here, it's basically looking at project attributes, and then looking at the project version. You can add in the release date, and if this has a value in our project, then it will appear in this report. So if we have a release user entry in our project properties, it will show up on this report. Same thing here. So you'll notice that the manufacturer is in fact counted as the supplier here. So if we want to, we can come in and actually replace this with manufacturer. So we would go up to our project. We're looking at devices. We're looking at component attributes, which is because manufacturer is an attribute of the component itself. Come down, we can find manufacturer. And swap it out. Okay. So fairly straightforward. This is that we can use to basically pull out that information into a report. And again, this can be then brought out as a text file. It can be brought out as an Excel spreadsheet, a PDF, an E3S file sheet. So there's a couple different ways that we can use this, and it can be helpful in that sense. Once you have it, you want to just make sure you save the report. The other thing we can do is we can add in certain items here. We want to go to our report one. We can have multiple items here, like our report gallery, where we have different types of styles that we can store and then import or export them for future use. So if you have a structure like this, you want to save it, you can just save it as a template. You can put your company logo in the corner if you want to. We can add barcodes, we can add all sorts of different reporting pieces. So this is a tool, and I'll use this as an opportunity to show you one thing that we have here. When you registered for DTM, you should have gotten a link to our community portal, and it looks this. So if you haven't already, I would encourage you to log in and create an account and log into this community portal. This is a great resource for finding out either long form pieces of information, you want to review some materials, or you just have a question about one specific thing. So looking at our project, designing here, how to add a device component attribute in a project, how to delete sheets, single object sheets, how to add an additional part to a BOM report. These are all little short 5-minute, 2-minute videos, depending on the complexity. These can be helpful for you if you just have one hurdle that you're trying to figure out. But we also have online modules regarding things like Drawing Notes Manager, DB Update, Toolbox, or in this case, Report Generator. So if you want to explore in further detail more information on what you can do at Report Generator, you have this hour and 25-minute video with its own outline and exercise files for you to follow along. And so if that's something that you're curious about when you get to that stage in your process, I would say reports typically are going to be the thing that you focus on at the end of your first project, right? What reports do we want to get out of DTM? So I would encourage you to curate your account if you haven't already, and just kind of peruse through some of this additional online material. So to get started today, we'll go ahead and